Broly, without anyone noticing him, flew at a great speed towards a fixed point of the desolate planet Vegeta. After 15 minutes, he arrived at his destination. It was a fairly large rocky mountain, that hadn't a single tree, no trace of life. Broly with his telepathy moved a few dozen rocks and before him appeared a passage with several rocky-looking doors. With the passage of Broly the doors opened in different directions, and after a few seconds he arrived at his destination. In front of him was a majestic spacecraft 250 cubic meters in diameter, which seemed to be made of mirrors. Broly touched the surface of the ship with his hand and from there a door appeared. The interior of the spaceship was of the most varied, elegant and futuristic aspect. Most of the space of the ship was occupied by a training cabin with a size of 70 meters with several tools for training. The control cabin of 5 meters from which the whole ship was controlled, either the interior or the movement of the same. The two rooms together occupied 24 meters in which there was a bed and a small desk and cabinets. The living room and kitchen that together measured 36 meters in which there was a sofa, an armchair, a table, and the rest was a good kitchen with many utensils. A bathroom of 20 meters, quite large, with a good shower and jacuzzi. The remaining 95 meters belonged to the machinery that made possible the operation of the ship, storage of provisions and a small hangar with a capsule. Everything was perfectly decorated and constructed, it practically looked like the inside of a Star Trek spaceship. "Home sweet home," said Broly, breathing heavily and smelling the new product smell of his spaceship. In that area and ship, apart from him there were only small robots performing cleaning and maintenance tasks. Broly didn't want anyone near his spaceship, so he only have robots doing tasks. "Since I have to travel I prefer to do it with style and comfort. I don't want to travel in that bubble, where I cannot shower, cooking, exercise, stretch, and seriously. I don't know how to fuck they shit. I want to inspect Kami's ship to implement some of its features in mine, and get Dr. Brief technology to store the spaceship in a capsule and make the interior bigger without compromising the exterior. Both are in my list of things to do when I arrive on Earth." Broly toured his new home. The spaceship had been designed by him and had also practically built it by telekinesis thousands of kilometers away, but actually entering inside for the first time was a unique sensation. "I have fulfilled one of my dreams of childhood, youth and semi-maturity. Finally I have my own spaceship built by me. I have spent many hours that I could have dedicated to training, but it's been worth it, it's beautiful. I would have liked to do something bigger, like an Imperial destroyer, or a Death Star, but you have to be realistic and practical. Enough of sensitivities, it's time to try the most important room in the ship, the training room." Broly, taking as reference the ship that Goku used when he traveled to the planet Namek, built a training chamber that allowed increasing the gravity up to 100 times. Like Dr. Brief, using the weightlessness device used by spacecraft, Broly and a team of scientists who had hypnotized, managed to build a room with an artificial gravity device. Dr. Brief is a genius. This part cost me and a team of scientists almost a year despite having material and knowledge of leftovers about the matter, but he was capable of all that and more in a few days. It's about a year and a half before the phase 3 of my plan starts. I already have practically all the scientific development that the planet Vegeta and Frieza can offer me. For now I only have to train, and of course have fun at night, jjj. Since he reincarnated in this reality he had been able to train his control over the Nen and the Ki for more than 2 years. Despite not having practiced many foundations of the Nen related to combat as they are Shu, Ken, Ko, Ryu and Hatsu, he have an extremely solid and deep basis. In addition, thanks to the Jugen after being almost 2 years in the shade controlling the planet Vegeta with his telekinesis and other metal skills, his mental power was so great that he could rival against great magicians, so for now it was not a pending issue to improve. However, there was something so or more important than him Ki and the Nen, something that due to the circumstances had left totally abandoned. His physical body. Although Broly had a combat power of over 150.000, a combat power superior to Captain Jinyu, who was considered the most powerful person in the universe after Frieza. Since Akira Toriyama had planned to finish Dragon Ball Z in that saga. His fighting power was due mainly to the amount of aura and the control he had over her, his physique, despite being extremely powerful for a scion, especially for a scion that was less than 2 years old. It was practically nil. The serum that was supplied to him in the incubator was useful to increase his growth and good development of his physique. His superior physique of legendary Super Saiyan made it even more effective, making him look like a 3-year-old kid, but that it was still by far its weakest point and the one that most urgently needed to be solved, especially for being the legendary Super Saiyan. Broly, in order to train exclusively his physical power using Zen and Ki suppression to its maximum power, retracted his own energy inside his body. With this, what was left was his basic physical strength without almost any energy to improve him. Broly imposed on himself a training. In his state of nullification of aura, he had to perform 100 push UPS, 100 sit UPS, 100 squats, 10 kilometers running. If it worked for Saitama, maybe for me too. After that warm-up, he had to perform all the katas of the Kung Fu Shinjin Ryu style perfectly and then go back to performing the Saitama training again, and so repeat this routine over and over again until the body could not continue, to again get up and start over. Broly would repeat this routine again and again in a specific gravity, and would not increase the level of gravity until he was able to perform all that routine at that level of gravity as perfectly as in the previous level, being 100 the total levels of gravity. Broly had planned to do more extreme trainings, but he feared that because of his early age, that could be harmful to his body, and he would only do them once he had completed the 100 levels perfectly. Among other advantages of this training is that it was impossible to locate him with energy locators, because he wasn't using energy. If he did a training releasing large amounts of energy, given the level of vigilance that was on the planet Vegeta due to the mysterious Phantom and Frieza's iron control, it would be easily discovered. Both the Nen and the Ki are methods to control and manipulate the energy that every living being has. That energy is the synergy between the mind and body and can be regarded as the total energy of a human being. When performing any action, however small, living beings spend that energy. Whether walking, running, jumping, thinking or fighting, even when eating and metabolizing those foods to regenerate that energy. Each action involves a certain energy expenditure. It's thanks to the control of that energy through Ki or Nen that we are able to make that energy expenditure more efficient and effective. One could also increase the amount that energy through good control. By compressing and purifying it, we can make the body generate more energy naturally. If a cell is a container, which only contains a limited amount of energy, through control, we can compress that energy, making possible that more energy can enter that container. We can also purify or change the nature of that energy, making it more efficient to our container, although that's something it still escapes a little to my knowledge. Due to the synergy that exists between energy and the body, this increase in quantity and quality improves all the functions of the same despite not having exercised. However, in my state, I have already reached the limit of energy gain through control. The total energy of a living being is due to the synergy between the mind and body. The control over the energy, of which I have reached the perfection in my current state, would be the mind, something that for now I cannot improve. In Dragon Ball they meditated to increase that control. The container of that energy, which is brimming with Mui perfectly controlled energy, would be the body, something that I have to strengthen to allow to store and create even more energy. In Dragon Ball, they trained physically to increase the amount of energy the body was able to create and contain. So now, if I want to increase that maximum amount of energy that my body can contain and create, I must do it as powerful as I can as soon as possible. If not, it will be impossible for me to move forward, no matter how good control I have over my energy. Although I could improve my real combat skills, it would be a waste of time and resources to do so now. Broly continued with that routine for 11 months in a row. During these months he followed his training routine until reaching 68 levels of gravity, not being able to complete his objective. It was a real hell in which he thought he would die several times, but he overcame his limit again and again. Although he could not finish in the time the training that he had imposed himself imitating the great martial artists of the anime, luckily he had not remained bald as Saitama, or as King Vegeta. The results and the merit of having reached that point were impressive. Goku was able to perform a similar training, however he was able to do it with a 25-year-old body, which Broly didn't have. Remember that Goku from Dragon Ball GT had a much lower base power for being a child, and Goku used his energy at all times to strengthen his body to withstand all that training, which Broly, a child of almost 3 years of age, didn't. He was doing that training suppressing his energy to the maximum, only using his physical strength. If it had been someone else, it is very likely that he never had more than 20 points and he would have died in the attempt, regardless of his age. However, being a Saiyan, especially the Super Saiyan Legendary, brought advantages that surely no other being had. Not only is it limited to a muscular transformation. Broly wanted to continue with his routine until he reached 100, but he changed his mind because he realized that his physical power had increased too much and that his energy had proportionally increased. Therefore, he would need time to learn to regulate it and keep it under control before retraining. Besides, the date of the final act of the planet Vegeta was approaching, and he had to prepare for it. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.